Hello, I'm Derek Wheatley, and welcome to episode 41 of the Wheatley podcast. Thank you for sending your questions in for last week's episode. I had great fun doing it. I got some funny responses back from people when they disagreed with my answers, which is part and parcel of doing it. I suppose it was a bit of crack, and some of the questions were pretty weird. But as I said, I had fun doing it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. Still doing the Facebook thing on Sundays at 6:30. I'm kind of enjoying them. That doesn't sound good. No, I am enjoying it. But listen, I'm going to introduce our guest today. She's an actress from The Devil's Doorway, Nocturnal. That's on the screen and on stage asking for it. And her name is Lauren Coe. How are you doing, Lauren?
Hello, I'm good, thanks, Derek. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks. I want to start where I always do, and it's a short history of your upbringing, please.
Okay, sure. So I was born in Dublin. My mom is from Dublin, my dad is English, and I was raised, born and raised in Dublin in Fairview.
Okay.
I went to Mount Temple Comprehensive School, which is where you two went to school as well. Obviously not
Yeah.
in the same time, but I went there. And I went straight from school to a college called the Lear Academy, which is an acting and directing and design academy in Grand Canal Dock in Dublin. And I graduated in 2014. Yeah.
And now you are star of the things I just mentioned, which we will get into. Could you, because I saw you in a film and I thought, I'll chance my arm, send Lauren a text and see if she'd come on. And thankfully you did. But I suppose you were enthused by the mental health side of things. So could you tell us when you first became aware of mental health?
Sure. I guess I suppose I was as aware of mental health issues and, kind of, I suppose, like low level kind of depression and anxiety maybe for a few years prior to last year. I think everyone goes through kind of ups and downs in their kind of life and with their mood and stuff like that. But sometimes you can't really put a kind of a label really on it yourself.
Yeah.
But I had a mental health episode last year, which left me unemployed and back at home recovering for about 4 months or 5 months. Actually, it took quite a chunk out of my year and out of my trajectory, and it involved heavy medication and psychiatrists and all the rest of it. And it kind of happened to me sort of out of the blue, but also probably triggered by various life stressors. And I suppose that was a real shock to my system, actually. And something that I actually would never have expected would have happened to me. Which is ridiculous because obviously it can happen to anybody.
Of course.
But it's just, I think when you have a very specific picture of like where you're going and stuff like that, you're like, well, why should something be able to rock me? Why would I suddenly become unstable for any reason, and you just don't think it's going to happen to you. But yeah, that was a massive shock and a big trauma. And you, Derek, reached out to me on Instagram where you found a post that I'd put up on World Mental Health Day about this event in my life. And I guess I just thought it was really important to, especially as an actor, because so many actors I know suffer from mental health issues. And I hate that old chestnut that it's like, oh, well, creative people tend to suffer with their, because it can be anyone.
Yeah.
But so many actors do suffer from it. But I guess I sort of realized that I didn't want to make my Instagram a place of just like, the odd post and the odd here's a picture of me looking nice and blah, 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 so I think it's really important to actually just really show your vulnerability and go, my life might look great on the outside, but actually it's been really, really hard.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure, you would be a massive advocate of as well, showing that vulnerable side of yourself.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a lot of people in the industry there's a lot of people, like you said, that will have experienced it, but do you think that they would have come out like you did?
I did see some of my peers coming out and saying, look, I've struggled with this since I've struggled with a certain mental illness since I was such and such an age, and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't make me any less me, and, kind of saying, and I still think I'm great, basically. Which is great also, and definitely accept yourself. But, I also think... Not that it's bad to say those things. It's fucking brilliant to be able to accept yourself and and warts and all. But I don't know, like I guess, like, for me it felt important to kind of to show that it actually was really, really, really hard, and is still something that actually affects me.
Yeah.
And not something that's just kind of like, and this is a part of my life, and now I'm over it, or that makes me even better or something. Because really, it doesn't really. No. It actually just makes life a lot harder than it needs to be. And yeah, I thought that was kind of important to do. And I think as well, people, sometimes I get young girls, actually mostly, but sometimes it's younger men following me on Instagram, because maybe they've seen a film, but actually mostly because of asking for it. And I just really want them to know that, your idols or whatever, they're not just these kind of, oh, I wish I could be like that, or I wish I could be like that, because that's just not how life works.
No, like, do you think the film industry is getting better at that? Do you think that, did you ever sit at home when you were going through it and maybe getting better, where you thought, oh, I better not say anything about this because it could affect my career in some way?
Along the road, I guess this only happened to me kind of last year, so I guess I haven't been able to. Yeah, I guess I my close friends and everything knew about it, but I didn't kind of want to go out and say something publicly really about it, because it kind of felt a bit dramatic or something. I felt like I was just, again, using something to sort of draw attention to myself, but really they kind of weren't my intentions. I suppose there's a certain type of person that will kind of dramatize every facet of their life on social media, but yeah, no, I just was tired of actually hiding it. Yeah.
Well, I think like when I'm going to go into the films, okay, because I want to catch up with these, and I think this the mental health side of things, because I when you're trying to create, like you are in a film, when you're creating a character, maybe the idea has been the screenplay has been written and the idea has been drawn up for you, but you have to create that character. It's your face, it's your expressions, and it's your movement and all that stuff. And do you feel that because and this is good, I'm getting from your answers already that this might be a stupid question, but do you think you can bring those those experiences that you've had, those rough experiences that you've had, to characters in the future?
Oh yeah, I mean, God, I hope so. I hope that one day it'll all make sense. That that you go through certain things so that you can, it somehow gives back to your life in some way. And I have actually learned a lot, I think, about myself and the world, and actually other people along the way. But yeah, I certainly hope so, and I think that's the performances that I've given, that I've been most proud of, have come from a place of reigniting some sort of elemental emotion that's tucked away deep within my body.
Yeah. And speaking of that kind of emotion. Okay, so I first saw you on the Devil's Doorway there about a month ago. No, it was even less than that. Okay, so it was actually the same week as I saw Can with Horses, and I saw Cosmo
Oh,
Jarvis in that.
God, what a film.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
do you know when you see someone actually, and we'll get back to it later on, but when you see someone and you forget that they're in a film you've seen already, and you
Well,
look up,
that's the mark of an amazing actor, isn't it?
yeah,
Because,
it is actually,
yeah,
yeah. And I went back and I
yeah.
saw he was in Lady Macbeth, and I was like, oh Jesus, that's where I saw him.
Oh, yeah. That's where I first saw him actually as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he's excellent. But speaking of excellent, so we're talking about the Devil's Doorway, right? And so do you want to give a tiny little synopsis actually of what that film's about?
Yeah. So it's a horror film that I made years ago now, actually, back
Hmm.
in, it must have been 2016 or
Oh,
something like
okay. Yeah.
that. And it's a horror film based in a Magdalene laundry where there's been reports of Virgin Mary statues crying blood, and these two priests go to investigate this issue
Hmm.
basically, and kind of they bring a camera with them, and they're filming the whole thing along the whole time, and these kind of interviews with the Mother Superior and stuff like that, and chats among themselves, and they start to uncover a lot of very sinister things that are happening within the laundry, and it's done in a because of the camera, it's done in a found footage
Yeah.
way as well.
Yeah, very topical at the moment as well, with the
Is it?
Magdalene Laundries thing. But
Oh, I thought found footage. Yeah.
yeah, well,
Magdalene.
the found footage thing is one of those, it was huge when Blair Witch Project obviously came out, and then it developed to that. But I suppose what caught my attention in the film was when you came along on the scene, and I wanted to ask you about your performance in that, two aspects in particular, because I've always wondered about the dual kind of role within one character and how you had to switch from a scared a girl that was locked up in a basement to the girl that's possessed by something, and
Yeah.
how that is basically like switching a light on.
Yeah, actually, I think movement definitely helped with that. I think as well, like watching the film back, to be honest, I actually said to Derek when he asked me to be on this podcast, I was like, I actually haven't seen that film, better go watch it. And when I watched it recently, and I was actually, it is the way I remember it to be in
Mm.
acting of it and everything. I didn't get any surprises, and it's what I kind of set out to do with the character and everything. So I was happy enough. But yeah, I think as well, I sort of carried that with, from what I remember, I think I sort of carried that with me
Mm.
when I was playing Kathleen as herself. And I think I sort of did that by, when I rewatched the film, I was like, oh, did that come out like that? Okay. I've got a very sort of high pitched, sort of childish voice
Yeah, yeah,
in the film. And I think that sort of helped me to go from, because you're not quite in, like, sat in naturalism, sort of
yeah,
like, well, this is a very normal girl. You're sort of sat in you're kind of expecting something weird to come out of her,
yeah,
because she's the register of her voice and even the way that she holds herself and everything, there's already something kind of trapped in there.
yeah.
So I guess that sort of helped to get from A to B with me. I don't really know how other actors do it in terms of I'm trying to think of some examples, but what was that film? I didn't actually see it, but
I just thought Linda Blair
or
straight away.
something. Hmm?
I just thought of Linda Blair straight away from The
Oh, right.
Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
how then? So you talked about movement. So it looked like a hugely physical role, like a demanding role in that sense. There was a part where you're suspended above the bed, and the way you move, like you're saying about your movements, you come out at one point, you come out of the room that you're locked in, you take a chunk out of of a nun's face. But it's so it's total body you're using, and
Yeah.
is that kind of exhausting? It just looks it.
Yes, it is. It is exhausting. And I remember being oh God, it was so cold. We shot that film in December in Belfast
Oh,
in
right.
like a disused building,
Oh,
a
right.
really creepy disused building. And I was freezing. I think they put it, so I was wearing like a big fake pregnancy bump. And I was also wearing like, I think some sort of something to keep me warm underneath, but you needed to see my bare legs.
Right,
So I
yeah,
was
yeah.
really just that, which
Oh,
was kept my middle coat, kept my
yeah.
middle warm, but not my extremities, all my arms, and my bare feet and everything. I was just in like a little nightie, and I just remember being like, no one talk to me between the takes because I am like I was so cold. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be pleasant right now
Yeah.
to speak to. So yeah, that was really hard actually, the cold. But the movement, the levitating stuff, I remember them being like, they were trying to train me into it, and they were like, okay, can you keep your body as straight as possible? And like that involves having abs up to your eyeballs. Like
Yeah.
that is just actually nearly impossible. And I tried my hardest to tense my abs as much as I could, but if you can see in the film, and actually a couple of films I've seen since then where an actor has to levitate, their body is bending
Mm.
backwards, like at where their arms and their legs are, because it's just you can't keep
Yeah.
yourself straight unless you are actually going. They do have ropes and they can
Yes.
take them out. But I just had a harness like literally around my middle, and I was like, I'm like a crab or something upside down.
It looked
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It definitely looked
Yeah.
uncomfortable. I'd say that. I want to move on to stage, and obviously there's uh, difficulties on both stage and on film. Like, but every time I hear a person asked who is someone who has done both, they always say stage is they prefer stage. Would you say the same thing?
I would
Mm.
in a lot of ways. Stage is kind of how I was trained,
Yeah.
and stage is very can be very exhilarating. It can also get very boring
Mm.
because you are doing the same thing every night, and
Yeah.
sometimes you just get an audience that's just like giving you nothing, or
Yeah.
a tiny audience. And with screen, obviously, you don't have that feedback loop. You don't
Mm.
have that when you're actually performing on a stage. It is such a dual carriageway in that if you're you feed off each other. There's a whole other space in that room that isn't the stage.
Yeah.
And if you're performing into this big vast hole that is basically just dull,
Yeah.
it feels terrible.
Yeah.
Even if you're given giving it loads, it can feel really dead. But that being said, I've had some extraordinary experiences on stage, and some of my favorite roles have been on stage. But I guess with screen, like screen actually just gives me anxiety, to be honest. Like every time I'm on a set, I'm like, what's gonna happen today? What could go wrong? Like
Yeah.
it's just very. But then again, it can be very boring as well because you're
Yeah.
waiting for very long periods on your own in a trailer, and then you finally get to do your bit,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh God, it's me. You have to make sure you're so prepared and so in the right mind frame and everything. I mean, I consider myself more of a, maybe I've got an equal experience in both, but I would consider myself more of a novice actually in screen.
Okay.
But maybe I'm not by
Well,
now.
look, you're going to be way beyond that, way beyond that. So, I think what I wanted to ask you about, like, what was Louise O'Neill's asking for it was a hugely popular book actually when it came out at the time. It was a very topical. So what was it what when you read the book, what kind of an effect did it have on you, and why did you want to take the role?
Yeah, so I heard that the play was being cast actually, and I remember going, oh God, yeah, I meant to read that book ages ago. It
Mm.
seemed really interesting, and then read the book immediately when I got the call to audition for it, and I read it in a couple of days, and I just remember there was actual knots in my stomach reading that whole book, and it wasn't just knots of suspense, but it was knots of recognition and knots of real kind of just turbulence, and it kind of woke something up in me where I just kind of was like, this is really, really important and really, really well told. I think Louise has created a world in that book that's so well characterized and so actually balanced in its representations of every single type of person that's involved in that story and where they're coming from, and the difficulty in coming forward for something like that, for everyone involved. And I don't think she comes to any hard and fast conclusions necessarily. Even towards the end of the book, I'm kind of like, where does this leave us? And yeah, I just felt her characterization of Emma and of teenagers in that position was beautifully characterized and told. And Jesus, yeah, I'm so grateful to Louise for writing that book, and she's been a great comrade to me during asking for it, but also in my life as well. Whenever I see Louise, and we will email occasionally and stuff like that. But I really, really look up to her. She's a real role model for me.
That's lovely, actually. Not that, Leo, just that it wasn't just a fleeting thing where you happened to be in a play that she was involved in, that she wrote the book for. It's really nice that there was something larger than that. So when you describe the book actually here and describe the feelings that you had when you read it, how much of like an emotional toll then each night does that take when you are playing that character?
Yeah, it really takes a big chunk out of you, to be honest. Like it really affected me when I played that character, and I think I didn't want to maybe admit that so much, but it really did. And it was an exhausting piece because it was actually so physically, there was a lot of physical exertion involved as well. We did a lot of physical kind of pieces within the second half of the play. And yeah, emotionally as well. The thing is, like, your body doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
And your body doesn't know the difference between you as an actor. I think I definitely got used to it after rehearsals, but I actually remember the first time we were sort of playing the scene in the bed. For anyone who hasn't seen in the play, there's a scene in a bedroom, set in a bedroom before the events that occur in the book, where Emma is on drugs and she's about to black out and not remember what happens next, and she's being kind of taunted by these male peers of hers. And I remember doing that scene for the first time in rehearsals and actually feeling all these really weird kind of shameful things happening in my body that was like, oh God, I don't know why this is happening to me. It felt like something that was happening to me.
Yeah.
And that I couldn't control. And I was like, I really don't like how this feels. But yeah, so your body doesn't actually know the difference between these things. And as well, obviously when you're upset on a stage, when you're crying, or you've got all this tension in your body doesn't know the difference. Your body's just storing that as trauma, really.
Yeah.
So you really have to mind yourself when you're doing plays like that.
Because like that's, and I suppose you could go back to screen with that in the sense that, like, on stage it's happening every night, like, and the body is taking the brunt of all those kind of feelings and emotions and things every night. It's I can't imagine how exhausting it is, but at the same time, with the power of the play and how what a powerful piece it is that you are putting that out there every night to other people to see, there's the reward, I suppose, back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had really astounding responses to it in both Dublin and Cork. I remember Cork was particularly, because I think the space and just it being set in Cork as well. We had some really incredible responses to it, and when we went to Birmingham as well, actually, which was at the start of this year, before this year fell apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to Birmingham with it, and there was one girl who actually, her name is Sophie. I don't know if she's listening. She's probably, yeah, if she is,
You never know.
yeah, you never know. She went about 4 times.
Oh, really?
And she is in school still, and I think really interested in acting. But yeah, and we had people from rape crisis centres, women who work there, coming to see it. We had a lot of school kids coming to see it. It was actually there was coursework and everything, a big school package done up for when we did it in the Abbey, for teenagers to work on it as a project on consent, which was incredible to be a part of. Yeah.
Do you know what's funny you say about school? I'll tell this story quite quickly, but my mum went to see it, and there was a group of school kids and a group of lads, young lads. They see a good-looking girl on stage, and they're like wolf whistling and doing the usual stuff. But by the end of the play, they were completely quiet and properly concentrating on it, and that just shows that's a good sign that it's because they were being typical teenagers, but then for them to completely flip, I think that's great. I want to talk a little bit about your latest film, Nocturnal, because I saw it recently. It gave me lots of emotions. And I text you after I watched it, and it was proper heartbreaking. And I suppose the last 10 minutes was like, it was a Jesus, but could you just tell people who haven't seen it maybe just a brief summary of it, please?
Yeah, so Nocturnal is based in Yorkshire. We shot it in Yorkshire, in Hull. And it's about a teenage girl called Laurie who moves back to Yorkshire. That's where her mum is from, after her grandmother dies and her mum's partner broke up. So she is in this brand new town that she didn't grow up in with her mum. They don't have a very good relationship. She's kind of a loner. She is a track runner. That's her hobby. And one afternoon, she notices a man who is painting. He's painting the track. He's a DIY kind of handyman type, and his name is Pete. And he's a sort of washed up 30-something-year-old who's been in this town his whole life. And she notices him watching her from the sidelines, and they strike up a very unusual, uncomfortable sort of relationship where they meet up by night. And I don't think I should go any further.
I would stop there because of what happens after. And the director's name is Natalie. Is it Biancheri? Is that correct?
I would say Biancheri, but
Biancheri.
She's not listening and thinks it's wrong. But yeah, I think it's Biancheri.
I wanted to mention her because honestly, I got the vibes of kind of. I'm a big film nerd and I watch a lot of films and I love films, and the way it was directed, and I know the cinematographer beautifully shot scenes as well of the sea and all that. I was going to ask you where it is, but obviously you said it was Hull, but it reminded me of kind of like Andrea Arnold and kind of Lynn Ramsey, these British directors, up and coming British director. Well, Lynn Ramsey's around quite a while now, but her style is so for that kind of film, for the film that's quite an intimate. It's really a 2-character piece. There's obviously, I know Sadie Frost is in it as well, and there's a couple of other characters that kind of are around, but it's really about your Laurie and Pete, yourself and Cosmo Jarvis. And I just thought her direction in particular is brilliant, and I'm looking forward to see what she does next. But I suppose, how do you approach playing the character Laurie, because she's kind of, I suppose, for a 16-year-old girl, 16-year-old person in general, they're quite complicated. Their feelings are very complicated, and I think her she's very vulnerable, but she's also like a smart ass, and she will stand up for herself. And her this is a very long question. Her her initial kind of chats with Pete are very strange.
Yeah. Yeah. The dialogue is, I mean, she is a weirdo, like, and so is Pete. So
Yeah.
it kind of works for that reason. I kind of love some of her early dialogue because it's actually so it's like that, like, well, if I could say this really smart comeback, this is
Mm.
exactly what I would say.
Yeah.
It's too smart, and it just comes out as kind of a bit trying hard and
Yeah.
a bit like, who is this chick, and I kind of think as well, it's part of being in a new place. That's sort of like, I can invent myself to be whoever I want here.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't
Obviously, I'm
think of that.
mistaken from something. And I don't think that really is working for her very well, to be
No.
honest. But it's very uncomfortable to be yourself also in a new place, because what if people don't like that me,
Mm.
and maybe I'm not, anything special to begin with. So why don't I create this new version of me, where I certainly remember doing that when I went to secondary school. I was like, right, this is the way I'm going to behave. This is the way I'm going to dress. I literally had this idea of like who I wanted to be when I turned
Yeah.
13 or whatever. But yeah, so she's kind of a funny one because she sort of changed quite a lot. There was an earlier version of the script, which the script is actually originally written by Olivia Waring, and
Okay.
Natalie took the script on and made some changes
Right.
to the character and to the relationship and to the plot as well. And Laurie was originally kind of a goth.
Right.
Yeah, and she was really into, like, she was sort of a goth, sort of emo-y indie kid who listened to Kate Bush on her own and stuff, which is I know, which is really cool. But kind of was very incongruous with the whole running track thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So she changed into a sort of hardened tomboy.
Mm.
Which I guess I'm definitely not a goth. I don't know if I'm a tomboy. Probably not. I'm not the most girly girl in the world, but probably not a tomboy. But I could at least draw from friends and other people that I
Yeah.
know with that.
I
Yeah.
love. I love. There's a scene quite early in the film, and your mom is she's unpacking, and you're lying on the couch, and the camera is shooting from kind of the side profile. There's a look you give your mom, and I mean, gee, like it's pure teenage. There's the like detest you. What the hell are you doing? Who the hell are you? All in just one look, and it was just like that is brutal. Like if you saw someone give you that look, it was just like Jesus, like, calm down a bit. Like she was only unpacking the clothes or whatever, you know. But like, do you have to? So when yourself and Cosmo meet, the chemistry between you on screen was excellent, you know. Just as two performers go, I'm not talking about
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about romantically, whatever it was,
Yeah.
just as two performers go. And there's one scene in particular in a flat. I won't go any further, but it's quite a long scene in the flat where you've both took a hit of acid, I think, or ecstasy, was it? Uh,
MDMA, actually.
yeah, MDA,
Yeah.
was it? Wow.
Or those
Um,
pills. Yeah, it's ecstasy. Yeah.
yeah, so but that kind of it was so dynamic between the two of you, and it was because of and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone here, like, but because of what each character was trying to do, it was almost like one's going forward and one's going back. It was a hugely intense scene for something that didn't involve swords and knives and guns or whatever, you know. And I think, like, how long did that scene take? Was that one of those ones that was a drawn out or a quick
That
one?
took a full day, I think.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, we actually did rehearsals the day before, or a full night anyway. We shot at night. We actually did rehearsals the night before, and we kind of blocked out the scene and kind of just made sure that the cameras would follow us wherever we were going to go in that flat, because it was a very small space.
Yeah.
There was only so much we could do, but we wanted to keep it like alive without it being too messy and all over the place. I'm
Yeah.
not able to, so we really had to kind of track that journey. So we did one evening rehearsal, and I think we did almost a full day or night or something.
It was do you know what, like, what was so excellent about the film? That flat, because it was a few scenes in that flat. There was so much character in the flat just because of that huge window that was looking out on the sea. And there was kind of, I don't want to get too arty-farty for the people who already think I am, but the sea is its own kind of character in it. Like, it drifts in and out of the film and stuff. But I really liked the way the environment was brought in to the film. And like I said about your performance and Cosmo's performance, there was that chemistry made it, you know. And like I say, I can't talk too much about it, and neither can you. And it's kind of frustrating in that way, but it's for a very good reason. But I do think that, yeah, it was one of those ones that at the end, it properly hit me, like. And I haven't quite figured out why it hit me so hard, you know, because I can't relate to I said it to you before we came on, actually, before I pressed record, about Pete is painting a flat and he sees his name was painted 5 years before that, and it kind of reminded me of that, like being in the same town. And look, how many people do you think have that experience in Ireland and England and, you know, everywhere?
Yeah.
So we'll do. I know you're very busy at the moment, so I just want to I want to fly through a couple of quick fire answers. All right. So, do you read reviews?
In recent years, yes, I do actually.
Okay.
I kind of read them with my face behind my hands,
Okay. Yeah.
and in preparation that they're just going to say something mean,
Yeah.
and that I'll just have to like deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do read them now. Actually, I've read all of every review, I think, for the past couple of years, because I remember when I first started my career, I would read the good reviews and be like, yay, amazing, and then like read one review that was bad, and then it would like ruin how I felt about everything. And I was just like, right, well, that's silly, Lauren. Like, you know, like everyone is so subjective, and also there's things to be learned, I think, from good and bad reviews. I've read bad reviews. I've read bad reviews that I've agreed with. Do you know? I've read good reviews that I've agreed with. I've read, you know, reviews from both sides that I've been like, they're right and they're right. And, you know, or maybe they're just wrong and they didn't get it or whatever. So yeah, I do now.
I really like the suggestion there was a review, RT's review for Nocturnal, that suggested that they
brilliantly written review.
It was, yeah, it was great.
They actually really hit the nail on the head and got, I think, what the film was trying to do.
What do you think about the suggestion that you and Cosmo should be in the next Ken Loach film?
Great, yeah, make it happen.
I say Ken Loach for sure, but I say Mike Lee because I want to see ad-libbing. It just seemed like you're ad-libbing anyway. You know, to talk about, was it Fred West was mentioned at one point in the conversation?
Rose West. Yeah, that wasn't an ad-lib, unfortunately. That's just the genius dialogue.
But that's it's more than a dialogue, because it came across like you were ad-libbing, and I think that's good. But I want to see in Ken Loach and Mike Lee as well, if you don't mind.
These are listening, guys. Make it happen.
Make it happen. Biggest acting inspirations?
Oh God. Biggest acting inspirations. Oh, like, sorry, I hate when people ask me those questions.
Yeah, it's a terrible question.
Pass. I'm sorry.
Okay. Here comes another terrible question. What's your favorite film?
My favorite film. A film that I could watch like over and over and over again is Girl Interrupted.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I just think the female performances in that film are just really, really excellent. I think it's a really well crafted story.
Yeah.
I could watch that film over and over again and not get bored of it, actually.
Well, that's good. I think that's a good answer. And just one last one. So I know it's a weird year and everything's up in the air, but is there any future projects on the horizon?
Not right now, actually. I've been taking a little bit of time out this year at the moment. I'm struggling with some health problems at the moment that are making acting a little bit impractical for me right now. I'm hoping that it's something that I can sort out in the next, a few months,
Yeah.
a year kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so right now, no, everything's kind of on the back burner,
Okay.
which is the last thing I kind of want to be doing right now, because I kind of had to take some time out last year as well.
Yeah.
So it just feels like a very long road. But thank God this time it's my physical health and not my wee brain,
Yeah.
which is okay now. Thank
Good.
God.
Good.
But yeah, so I'm raring to get back at it when the time is right, but I don't want to push through anything that my body literally can't handle, because
Of
as we
course.
talked about, obviously it's a very full physical experience is acting, so
Yeah,
you
and
want to
look,
be fit in the middle.
you got to look after the mind as well. You don't want it to anything as it's going so well for you. Like you don't want it to affect it through, pushing through too quickly. Listen,
Sure.
it's been great talking to you, Lauren. It's been really nice,
You
and
too, sir. Thank you
we
so
wish you.
much.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and we wish you all the best with your health and your. We'll be keeping an eye on the career and safe travels. And I think that's everything covered.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Happy lockdown 2.0.
Yeah, you too. Take care of yourself, Lauren. All right.
Bye. You too.
Thank
You
you.
too, Sarah. Lovely to meet you.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
Bye. Fusion Training Center, Mungsand Athlone. A place to train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, martial arts and CrossFit. A great atmosphere with experienced coaches and a real sense of community. If you want to join the team, find us on Facebook at Fusion Training Center or drop in for a chat. Fusion Training Center. Train like a warrior. Well, how good was that? Really enjoyed that interview with Lauren. She was great for coming on. Let me just turn up my mic here a bit because we're gone down very low all of a sudden. Yeah, I suppose like I'm always so glad when someone is enthused by the fact that they want to come on and talk about mental health. That goes without saying. And especially when someone is in a position like I spoke to her about, being worried about it might affect her career, the mental health side of things. And I hope it's a sign by her being, very forthcoming about it, that it, the industry, like something like the movie industry or music or whatever it is changing with the times, and they realize that people are, obviously only humans, and they're not going to go through things like machines and get through it. So yeah, it was really fun. And look, I would have talked to her for longer because I would have nerded out on films for quite a while. I had a lot of questions about Nocturnal because, like I said, it did kind of blow me away because I can't compute what it meant to me yet, because like I said, I can't really relate to either performers or either character in the film. But there was at the last 10 minutes were just mind blown, in their impact of how emotional. And I can think of other films that did that to me, and I'm not going to say what they are because you can probably tell from the way we were talking. There's bits in that film that you just can't spoil for someone, because people are, rightly so, don't want the film to be spoiled for them. They want to watch it without knowing what's going on. That's understandable. Like I know going into films, a lot of films going in that I know the ending to and I know what happens in the film, and it hasn't spoiled the film for me. But look, Lauren it's Lauren's latest film, and why would she want people to know? She'd want people to watch it first and then have a good think about everything we just talked about. So that was fun. I've got a list of names right in front of me here, actually, of who's going to come on in the next few episodes, I guess. And I'm building towards something for 50. I've spoken about Aisling Daly already. Will be coming on, former UFC fighter, first Irish woman black belt in jiu-jitsu. So she is kind of ahead of the queue, but I do want to bring her on a bit earlier because it could be, we're only just doing episode 41 now. So I kind of want to get her on before 50. It seems like a long way away. And people, will be like, they'll do it now, but then maybe in a few weeks' time they're like, I don't really want to do it, I'm not in the right headspace and stuff. So that's perfectly understandable. So I've got, how many names? I've got 10, 10, 12, 13 names written down here. And actually, Ashleen isn't. Oh no, she is there. So I've got 13 names written down there. So, and I've also got kind of an idea of having, because we're doing the Zoom now, obviously, that we've got 2 people who are partners coming on, so they'll be able to obviously talk next to each other on the Zoom call. I didn't even think of that when we're setting up the Zoom. So the Zoom has its positive elements. I just have to keep my mouth quiet if I can do it, because I think what's quite difficult for me is I want to acknowledge the fact that I'm listening, and I want to acknowledge the fact that I'm agreeing with people. Like I'm talking to Lauren there and I'm nodding my head. She could see me obviously, but I don't want to interrupt, because then there's a slight delay on her end. Her voice cuts out. You know, there's glitches in the machine when it comes to Zoom. But like I'm saying, there's a lot of positives to it. I haven't quite figured out the technology. We did have 10 minutes before this, maybe not 10 minutes, but a few minutes before the start, where I couldn't quite figure out the sound for the episode here. So me and Lauren were texting each other to see what the story was on my end or her end, and I'm not good at that. But John can't come in on the calls because they're only 40 minutes and they'll drop out. So we have, the only choice is for me to get better at them. Lauren mentioned there that she's actually coming back to Ireland for a few weeks, and she's actually packing at the moment, so she's a bit stuck for time. So even more of a fair play to her for stepping in. So like I was saying, I've got all these guests. I haven't forgotten about any. So just know that I will get to you eventually. It's just going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of maneuvering, because now, like, we've had an actor on this week, so now we have to go with someone completely different next week. We've had lots of, when I started out, like, I wanted to have a man, woman, man, woman, man, woman, and it never really, the chances of that happening were kind of slim, to be that. I'd like things to be that neat. They're not that neat. So I at the start, then I thought we had like 3 men. The first 4 episodes we had 3 men and 1 woman, and then we had loads and loads and loads of people just on my own during lockdown. And then we came back into it, and we had man, woman, man. It was good. And now all of a sudden it's just women, just all the time. And to me, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'll talk to whoever. But I'm trying to think, because we've had, I know Michelle was on, Anita was on, Ginny was on. I think Ryan was probably in amongst the women, and that was about it. So maybe I'll be a man next. I'll be contacting. But again, I'm even looking at the list here, and it's full of. Actually, there's 3 or 4 men there, so we'll be able to work around it. And another thing about this is, like, if you feel that you can contribute to it, if you're someone who's listened to quite a number of episodes and have it in their mind that they could offer something to do with mental health. Maybe it's a mental illness, or a mental illness that we haven't touched upon yet, and you could educate me and educate people on it. Feel free to just send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, or our lines are open. Never think, actually, because I think most people do think this, but I really want them not to think this. I thought this at the start, okay, that I was somehow not qualified enough to talk about this kind of stuff. And I think people coming on, they think, sure, what am I going to talk about? No, get that out of your head. Everybody who's come on has offered something different, and it's of interest to me, and you guarantee you it'll be interest of other people as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I just wanted to add a little bit on at the end, just to talk about who we have coming up in that. We've got things kind of coming up. There's an initiative in Athlone, hashtag positive vibes Athlone, that's being set up. You'll hear about it. It's it's only started, but it's got, the idea is to get the closed down shops, the windows done up as brighten up the town, a sign of hope. And to me, it's a really, really nice idea. So I was contacted about it, and if I'd help, and of course I would, no problem. Whatever I can do, they know that, so they're going to get back to me on it whenever they have it all sussed out. So as it says, just in the development process, but I love the idea of it, and businesses that are open can also get involved. Can if they have window space to use or whatever, they can brighten it. This chair is terribly squeaky. So yeah, I think it's a great initiative, and of course that helps. So if they want to have someone on the podcast to talk about it, absolutely. If they want to talk to me about it, go for it. That's one thing. What's the second? The second thing, twice now I've said I've been in, that the podcast will be featured in the Westmead. It will be featured this week. Okay, coming out. This is coming out Wednesday, so it'll be today that it's featured. I've been assured, so let's hope that it is. What else? Yeah, I might be doing something, a little talk for somebody as well. I'm not going to mention it because it hasn't been stamped yet, but I might be doing a talk for somebody, just an online thing, another Zoom thing, but it won't be an interview. I won't be interviewing somebody. It'll be something completely different. And I also might be doing something next Friday night. Keep an eye out. Again, not publicized as yet, but when it is, I will retweet and do whatever the kids do and put it out there, and maybe you tune in as well. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of irons in the fire. We're really trying to get our shares up as well. So like, I was speaking to John last night, and there's a kind of, Facebook are getting worse and worse, and it seems to be as the higher your likes get, the worse and worse Facebook do for distributing your posts. So we rely hugely on shares and just getting the viewership or the scene aspect of it up. So we're thinking about running maybe competition. There's a lot. We're always thinking of ideas, and people are probably going on more ideas. He hasn't done the last few. I understand that. I'm spitballing here, as they say in the old films, or maybe now in the new films. But I need to get the shares up to get more people to see the posts, because we've had some class guests on. We're going to have some class guests on in the future, and I don't want people to miss out that might be interested in them. Some people mightn't be interested in episode 22, but they loved episode 24, and another person is the exact opposite. So there's a bit. That's the whole point of the variety of it. Like, there's a bit for everyone, and that's what's so rewarding for me, to be able to record a podcast and learn so much from it. It's class. Was there anything else that I wanted to actually mention about? Yeah, I hope everybody's doing all right actually in level 5, I should say. In level 5, it's very difficult for a lot of people. Mental health wise, it's very difficult for a lot of people, and I'm kind of lucky to have an outlet, to have look, I know I talk about this all the time, but it's worth repeating. And if you've heard it before, I get it. It's boring, but for there's always newer listeners. There's people tuning in that haven't heard the podcast before, and I like to talk about these kind of things because there's hope out there. And I get out and run, and I'm able to do something. I have this podcast where I can emote, and I can come on and talk to people like Lauren there. I've never met Lauren, and where would I have met her before? I literally send her a message on Instagram, and I get to talk to people who I don't know, and they have different talents and different ideas about the world, and even talking to Lauren there about stage and screen and things like that. That's mad to me, and I was quite nervous today about it. I was talking to Anne downstairs about it. We went off to get some shopping and that, and we came back, and I was the way I kind of psych myself up now is really weird. It's not like the way you might psych yourself up for a sporting event or something. Obviously it's not like that, but I was walking around the house very a lot of nervous energy flowing, but at the same time I'm calm on the exterior. I'm maybe looking at music videos or live performances on YouTube. I've got the notes all in front of me. I was sitting on the computer at 2:20. Our chat, our Zoom call was for 3. I'm sitting there with my headphones on, with microphone in front of me. It doesn't make any sense, but yeah, that was just, that's how I deal with it now. So yeah, we're still, like I said, all the stuff that I mentioned, we're still doing the same things. So wrapping it up here, I want to thank Lauren so much for giving us the time that she did. It was brilliant talking to her. When she gets like she says, she's taking a break from acting at the moment for health reasons, but when she gets back on her feet, we'll be watching her, and I think she's going to be big. She's excellent in 2 films I've seen her in, particularly Nocturnal. Held it so well, the film so well with Cosmo Jarvis, and 2 actors who are properly going places. I'd like to thank John, his family, and Megan. As always, to Jer, my mum, my dad, my grandfather. Please subscribe to YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. It helps us an awful lot. Again, it's about getting it out there to people, and YouTube is a really valuable resource for us, because we're going to start putting like videos up or whatever, and little clips if we can. So please, get to YouTube and hit subscribe for us. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Instagram's a good one to get out there, because we do try and share a bit more stuff on Instagram than we do on Facebook these days, because it's just an easier thing. Bang, 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 it's on. And Facebook doesn't share the stuff, whereas Instagram, anybody can see it. And we're trying to use more hashtags. Thank you to Paul Farrell for helping me out with a couple of suggestions that I'm trying to take on when it comes to promoting the podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, Google Podcasts, etc., etc. As always, thank you to you for tuning in. Thank you for letting me talk for the last 15 minutes, just putting the stuff out there. It's all on my chest, and I like to just put it out there. This is what's happening. This is what we're trying to do. Let's keep it going. Let's keep things positive. Let's keep talking. And if you need it, and like I always say, if you need to talk to anyone and you think you don't have anyone home to talk to, our lines are open, and I'll get back to you as quickly as can, and we can have a chat and try and talk through any problems that you may have, because that's what it's all about. It's about talking. So thanks everyone. I hope you have a very nice week, and take care. Bye.